Welcome and thank you for joining us for this North Metro TV Local Decision 2015 Candidate Spotlight. I'm here with Circle Pines Mayor Dave Bartholomay, and you're running again for election this year. Welcome into the studio, and thanks for taking some time this year to sit down and chat with us.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Well, let's just start first off. Why did you decide to run for office again?
Well, you know, I've been doing it for a while. I've been the mayor for 10 years, and we're in the middle of a lot of things that I think are important. We're in the middle of a lot of street reconstruction. It's going very well. I want to see us get that finished. Also, another big issue is that we are going to be looking for a new city administrator next year. Our city administrator has been there almost 30 years, Jim Kyneth. Great guy, done a lot of wonderful things. That's a big transition. So I want to be along to kind of help make that smooth, because that's really important to the way the city runs so well.
Well, we're going to go through a bunch of different topics and issues that affect city government and are always affecting the city of Circle Pines as well. The first one is a couple questions about budget, taxes. It's a topic that I'm sure you talk about frequently when you're speaking to voters, when you're out and about and going through the city. Give me your assessment of the city budget. First, to you, what are the most important items in the city budget?
That's a good question, because everybody's got their favorite pieces. I think public safety, which includes police and fire, is kind of job one. It's the biggest part of almost any city in Minnesota's budget, so that's the first piece. Also with us, there's a fairly good-sized chunk for parks. You know, we have more parks, trails, open spaces, we think, than anybody else in the metro area, kind of on a per capita basis. It's a lot of how our community is laid out, and so we need to maintain those. So I would think those would be our major issues and major kind of costs we have going forward. But if you look at our budget, I've been the mayor for 10 years. And if you look at the budget order from 2006 to 2016, I sat down and looked at it, and our budget has actually increased an average of 2.2% per year. Now, it seems to me 2% is not bad. I know some people would like to have it lower, but we have a lot of people expecting a pretty high level of service. If we look into that budget a little more, some folks are concerned about the cost of police, and police are expensive, there's no doubt about it, but safety in your neighborhood is job one. So I looked at that, and over that same period of 11 years of budgets, including next year's budget now, the police department has gone up an average of 2.5%. You know, it goes up a little faster than usual. Some of that was fuel, some of that's health care insurance, cost of having a police officer in the cars. But at any rate, 2.5% is not bad. The good news, and maybe one of your next questions, is going to get to be about taxes, and that's a big part, because you start thinking about a couple percent a year, it starts to add up. The truth is, I also looked at our property tax levy, and over the last 10 budget years, 11 budget years, we have had an average increase of 0.65%, so 2/3%, less than a 1% increase in the property tax levies that we put out there. And we've been able to do that because we've also went after and gotten more local government aid from the state, and because we've gotten more fiscal disparities. And those are these kind of programs that a lot of residents, people don't understand. But I was named the governor named a bipartisan task force of mayors, 15 from all across the state, big cities, small towns, all political parties. It was a nonpartisan group. And we went to work at local government aid and what needs to be happening and how we can get more money into there and what's fair for cities. We spend all this money, all of our taxes for sales taxes and income taxes go off to St. Paul, and sometimes it feels like not enough comes back for our streets and for our police department, kind of the main things we're working on in Circle Pines. And so we went and took a look at the formulas and advocated. We had meetings all across the state. It was all great. And we were able then, with the help of the legislature, of course, pass those changes and change the local government aid, so that we went from, when I started being mayor, getting $29,000 a year in local government aid to getting almost $350,000 a year now. And a lot of other cities are doing that, and that helps us keep property taxes down. And that's why I brought along my handy little hammer here for doing that. I got this award for hammering down property taxes, because when you got more local government aid in, then that kept the lid on property taxes. So yeah, budgets and taxes are one of the main things I focus on a lot, and I'm pretty proud of what we've done.
And kind of a follow-up there quickly, when you look at the budget, when you're talking about how you've seen the budget growth and what you've been able to do through that, are there areas in the city budget that are still able to be trimmed or cut back? Are there things where, if you had to control spending, are there items where you think you could control it more?
Well, I don't know. There are some areas, for example, if we look at the police department, where we share a police department with two other cities. We share it with Centerville and with Lexington. And so our three cities have the Centennial Lakes Police Department. We look at ways we can keep that down because that's the biggest cost for, like I say, almost any city in Minnesota. And so we took and stretched out the amount of years that a police car goes, for example. They used to replace them maybe every 3 years, and we exchanged it to 4. And so we do some things like that to try to keep the cost down. If you go too far, of course, then the maintenance costs start piling up, and pretty soon you're not saving any money anymore. We look at our Parks Department, for example, is less this year than it was last year, because last year we had to buy some equipment. This year we could kind of keep it down. But on the other hand, we have this emerald ash borer issue that keeps coming closer and closer to Circle Pines. And so sooner or later, we're going to have to deal with taking out a lot of trees and things like that. So there's a lot of give and take in a budget. There's a lot of wishes. If we had the opportunity, we would like to find some money to clean up Golden Lake. The water quality is not so great. If we had the money, there's a lot more trails that we'd like to either connect, a couple of them that get a lot of use. You might like to put a little pavement on, just not enough money. So there's never quite enough money to do all the things. And that's part of the fun of it, is prioritizing and putting the squeeze on things. You have to do it, but people expect a pretty high level of service these days.
You talked a lot about public safety. One of the big public safety changes in your city is Lino Lakes leaving the Centennial Fire District. How is that going to affect Circle Pines, and is the shared fire district model still viable for your community?
Shared fire district model is viable. Lino Lakes, in the end, was not, with their current leadership of their mayor and council members, made a decision to leave. It was a very, I think, a very big mistake. It was a big mistake for them and for us. They're leaving and starting up their own fire departments cost them an awful lot of money, and that's been documented already in all the local papers and the budgets and stuff, so I won't get into that. That's a Lino issue. I can tell you that it's had an effect on us as well. First off, our budget's increasing quite a bit. For fire safety, and that's a price we're paying. That's another one of the pressures on our budget. So more money is going to fire because we don't have that bigger partner anymore. But we still have a partnership with Centerville. We still are looking at other ways we can do things. And one of the things I think that is interesting is that Lino Lakes is a difficult city to work with, quite frankly. Their city leadership is. And so what we're looking at doing is now, when they are not in the picture anymore, we're going to be able to provide potentially a range of other services. We wanted to keep our folks as EMTs and be able to perform a lot of medical functions that's important to our city. Our residents need that level of service. We have a growing community. So when they want to go a different route and lower the level of service, we wanted to stay where we're at, and we just couldn't follow that path that they were on. And so they're going to go a different route, and we're staying tight. We have an awful lot of dedicated firefighters. We're very proud of our firefighters, and we're going to take good care of them. And so we think it's going to work fine, and maybe add some innovative services that we weren't able to do in the past.
Switching topics to development, in a city that's built out like Circle Pines, you see all the growth happening around you, specifically in Blaine, with new things coming in. Are there opportunities to bring new things in through redevelopment in your city? Are there things that you would like to see maybe brought into your city?
Yeah, there is a couple of places. Like you say, we are fully built out. We don't have any open land to build new buildings on or new big box stores or anything. We rely on our neighbors in Blaine to do that for us, and they do a pretty good job. They're great to work with. In our case, it's about redevelopment. And for example, we have what's called the Down Under. It was a bar right along Lake Drive, kind of towards the shopping mall, right underneath our water tower. So it's down under the water tower. And that has been empty now for quite a few years. And it's privately owned, and they always tell us they're going to come in and remodel it and rebuild it and make it a music cafe, and then it never happens from one year to the next to the next. And that gets very frustrating, and it starts to beg the question of what's the role of government in these private sector decisions. You know, we don't want to, as a city, go out and buy that property, spend a lot of money on it of public dollars. We'd like to see the private sector come in and redevelop that. And so we're always trying to figure out how to encourage that. Beyond that, it's mostly homes and the existing businesses kind of, you know, putting on the new siding and the windows and cleaning up the neighborhood. And you go up and down the streets, you can see examples of where that's happened. So that's really where we're at. And then we have to have good relations with our neighbors, whether it's Lexington or Blaine or Shoreview, whatever. We try to have good relations because a lot of our residents are going to go shopping in Blaine. Blaine built a brand new athletic complex just up Lexington Avenue from us. Beautiful facility. And so a lot of our kids will play on those fields. And so, it's not like it's just us. We're really all in this together.
Okay. Switching topics yet again, you had mentioned street maintenance and roads earlier. What steps have you taken, and would you continue to take in the future if you are reelected to ensure that the roadways in your city and Circle Pines are maintained and updated when they need to be?
You bet. I got elected to the city council in 2001, and I was on a 4-year term from 2001 to 2005, and every year when that issue of street maintenance came up and maybe restarting to rebuild some streets, we kind of put it off, and we put it off. And I made a vow that when I got elected mayor, we were going to try not to put it off so much anymore. And so I got elected in the November of 2005, and so in 2006 we started working on a plan that we came out with in 2007, had a lot of citizen input. It's basically a 20-year plan, and we're actually over halfway through it already, of rebuilding and repairing and fixing every street in the community. Now some of them, like the street I lived on, needed to be torn up, water lines, sewer lines, the whole deal, very big. Some of them just need what's called a mill and overlay, where you pull off a few inches and put it down again, because those water and sewer lines underneath are in good shape. But we're in a good track there. We'd saved up money for 20, 30 years, squirreling away money every year. At the end of the year, we'd put it in kind of reserve fund. We've used that. We've used some state aid. And we use some kind of smaller amounts of property taxes to get this job done, so that we wouldn't have to have a big cost to homeowners. And so it's going very well. We have a plan for what's going to happen in 2016 and 2018 and 2020, and then we'll be pretty much done with most of our streets. And so it's a very interesting kind of topic, because everybody supports it as long as you can make your numbers work and don't put the hit too hard on the current residents. Spread it out over some time for when new residents come in, they pay their fair share too. And it's really worked out well. It's something that brings everybody together to kind of focus on a project like that.
Okay. When you think of the role of mayor, what comes to mind? What do you think of as the most important responsibilities of the mayor?
I got to tell you, from watching a lot of mayors around the state and meeting a lot of them in my traveling and stuff, I think it's about demeanor. I really do. You have city administrative staff, you have people that are day-to-day professionals. I think the mayor needs to have a kind of a positive, out in the community kind of approach to things. I don't think you can be, kind of winging around and saying things and kind of doing that. I just think you have to be very steady, very positive. I go to about 125 different events a year. Probably out of that, 30 are required. The rest are, hockey games or talking to the Little League coaches or doing this or doing that, all these kind of things I do, because it gets me out and gets people talking about what they hope for, what they dream in the community. It's always the same. They want good schools, they want safe neighborhoods, and they want some places to have amenities, the parks and trails and stuff. And we've got all that. That's why in I think it was 2011, CNBC named us the 3rd most perfect suburb in America. Now, I don't know how they quite calculate those things, and I don't know what all the other suburbs in America are like, but we've got a lot of good things going, and I think the mayor's job is to be that face of the community. And that's got to be a positive, kind of progressive face. It can't be a curmudgeon-y, angry kind of face. It's got to be somebody that really wants what's best and wants to partner with people around them, and that's what I want to do.
In our last 15 seconds, why should a resident of Circle Pines vote for you on Election Day?
Well, I think we're on the right track. We've been able to get our streets done, make our neighborhoods safe, have beautiful parks and trails. We have great schools, a lot of good things going for us, and I want to keep doing that into the future.
Well, Dave Bartholomay, thank you for coming in today. Thank you for sharing some of your views and opinions on the various issues that we talked about.
Great. Thank you very much.
I want to thank you for watching this Candidate Spotlight here on North Metro TV. Remember, you can head to northmetrotv.com, where you can read candidate biographies of any of the candidates that are running this fall. You can also see other spotlights just like this all there on northmetrotv.com. Just click on the Local Decision tab. I've been your host, Ben Hale. Thank you for watching.